we're going to show you how to do the Resin Ashtray. For everybody that want to get into the rolling tray set business and all that. So right here we got parts A, parts B of the amazing clear cast. So right now I already got it in a cup. So basically, right here I'm mixing up the resin. I'm mixing parts A and parts B. You want to just keep on mixing. I usually mix for anywhere up to like 10 to 15 minutes. Because if you keep on mixing for too long, you'll start to notice that the resin gets hot and you'll start feeling your hand get warm. And that's when you know that you've been mixing a little bit too long. So as you can see, I'm still mixing. I've already been mixing for, a little while. So now I'm just about to get my station ready because now I'm about to put the dye in the resin. It's a specific resin dye. This is how you get to color your trays. Coasters, whatever it is that you are designing, that you are using the resin for, you want to get this ready because sometimes it could get messy. So it's a brand new dye, so I do have to cut it. And after I cut it, just clean the scissors because you don't want to mess up the scissors just in case you got to use the scissors for something else. I don't have, specific scissors for everything. That's like a multi-purpose tool right there. It's pretty much used to cut almost everything except for food. So after you clean the station, clean the scissors, make sure you wipe it. Then after we get that all situated, just do a little bit more mixing, just to make sure it's right. Make sure everything is, it's stirring fluently. Like you're gonna know, because if it's too hard to stir, it's gonna be an issue. So see the resin dye, I just pour a couple drops, drip, drip, drip. Then after that, you just put the dye to the side, and you get your mixing going on. So you see how it's changing the colors. So this one is gonna be a lighter color because it's not too much dye. The more dye, the darker the color, basically. You can always mix colors, mix and match, you can do it a whole bunch of ways. But I just preferably for, this particular tray that I'm going to do, I pour the dye in, the resin, mix it up, you're doing a little more mixing. So all of this is pretty much like mixed into the time, because if you was doing just a clear resin, you wouldn't even be doing this much mixing. So I'm just doing a lot more mixing. That's all included. So after I do the mixing, I'm gonna start putting in the oh man, how did I forget? Yeah, I start putting in the sparkles, the glitter. There we go. So as you see, it's blue. It's not a dark blue. It wasn't too many drops. There's a nice shade of blue. Nice shade of blue for me. So after we, finish mixing the dye in. So now for this particular piece, I'm gonna get some glitter. So right now I'm grabbing the white, the white looking glitter. You can get all of these things from Walmart, Joann's, Michael's, all these DIY, essentials. So, sprinkle as much glitter as you want to pop, in your resin. If you want a dash, you put a dash. If you want more, you just put more. So then as you see, we doing some more mixing. So I tell you this right here, if your wrist game ain't right, you're going to have some issues. But, if you used to, do a couple things here and there, you're going to have it down pat. You feel me? Your whip game going to be right. So we just mix, keep on mixing. Like, that's one thing with this resin, man. You're going to definitely keep on mixing. Like, the way you mixing, you're going to think that you was you was a chef. So, as you see, it's a little glittery. Got the white looking glitter, the blue dye in it. Like, it's really like mad mixing. Like I said, you're going to be mixing for quite a while, for like 10 to 15 minutes. Like I said, if you mixing and it starts getting hot, you've been mixing too long. So you keep mixing, right now, I finished mixing it up. So I'm gonna grab some little, I can't even remember what these is called, but it's little decorative tools, decorative stuff. That's the ashtray mold, the resin ashtray mold. So what I'm gonna do is just basically sprinkle a couple of those in the mold first. So I sprinkle around, you can position them in specific areas if you choose to. I kind of just like sprinkle them all around, so this way it's just like, it's a little spread out. You could put as much or as little as you like. And this is something else that you can get I think I got this from Walmart. And it might have been like, I know it's pretty cheap. It might have been like $5, maybe $4, something like that. Maybe Dollar Tree or something had them cheaper, but I just seen it and I just grabbed it. I was like, oh, hey, let me grab these. So as you see, I just sprinkled them in the mold first. I don't sprinkle it in the resin, not yet, because I just feel like if you do that, it's gonna get like stuck together. So I don't do none of that. So I'm just trying to clean up the area a little bit. Sprinkle a little bit more. I kind of want, like, for this particular piece, I wanted a lot. I wanted them spread out. And I think these are like the silver looking ones. I know they kind of like shining different colors. So as you see, they all spread out in the mold. So when I pour the resin on top, those would be more prominent at the top, because basically the mold is upside down. So you see me doing a lot more mixing again. Like I tell you, we're going to be doing the mixing. So now I just pouring the resin in. You want to usually start, you want to try to start in the middle. Get all the corners, make sure you're getting everything. You see how light blue that resin is? That's how the finished product is going to come out. So you just want to make sure you're getting all the corners, make sure it's dripping down, nice and smooth. You're trying to get it even. And one thing for sure, two things for certain, make sure you have an even table, desk, floor, wherever you pouring this at, make sure it's even, because you do not want your ashtrays lopsided. I'm telling you. I made a few ashtrays before. They was a little lopsided. You dig? So you're just spreading it all over, trying to get it even. Like, it's going to be even, but, when it's setting and it's trying to harden and things like that, you don't want it to be lopsided. So you definitely want it to be on an even surface. Definitely on an even surface. So you see I got a little bit in there, a little bit more. You want to try to get as much out, fill up as much as you can, because that wasting resin, all that extra resin that's in there, that could be going towards another project. And now we back. We're going to check out the ashtray. I let it sit for like 24 hours. You got to let it sit for a little minute. So we're going to pop it out the mold. But look at that. Look at the diamond shining. Look at that glitter dancing. Yeah, that glitter dancing, boy. See, look, and it's not too dark. I only put like 5 drops in there. So if you want your trays to come out much darker than that, you're going to want to put a lot more drops in there. You see, I made a little nice, little pretty joint. But yeah, that's how we do the trays.